People have been wondering who you are. I can tell that was a question. Somebody wanted to know who you were. So say hi, Mickie. Hi, Mickie. Hi, Gabby. Yes, you're one of the kitties of enchantments, too. Oh, she saw herself in the mirror. Hi, everyone. I am Shadow Witch, and this is the director of our program, Pulling Aside the Veil, Mickie. He's one of the kitties of enchantment. Hi, say hi, everybody. He and his sisters and brothers were born here in 2008 when some mean person dropped off their mama outside, and she was pregnant with all of them, and she walked right into the store, and we kept them all. Yes, we did. Yes. So he is the director and the manager of the store and keeps things in order, huh? So he was just coming in here giving us some last-minute instructions for the video. Do you want to get down? Okay. Say hi, everybody. All right. Thank you, Mickie. We'll see you in a little while. Well, thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and today we are going to be talking about who am I? Well, sorry, a little bit of kitty hair. You met Mickie, and I am Shadow Witch, but who am I? I have been a witch for over 40 years. I started, longer than that, when I was about 12, casting circles in the forests. I grew up in southern New England on a dairy farm, a real dairy farm with about 100 head of cattle, milking cattle, and then beef cattle and horses, goats, sheep, pigs, chickens. Oh my goodness. I think we've had everything on that farm that I can think of over the years. And it was awesome. Fields and hayfields and cornfields and orchards and streams and ponds. It was great. It was a great way to grow up. And I connected with the earth and the elements and the spirits at a very early age. I remember I had a favorite fir tree that if I got upset, as a young teenager is apt to do every 10 minutes, it seems, I would find myself going through the woods behind the house, past the pond, and up to this little field. It was a scrub field. It didn't really have anything in it. It was just an old pasture, and it had one fir tree. That was one tiny little fir tree that was standing solidly in that field, and I would just go underneath that tree and just sit there, and it was my friend. I just felt so good under that tree, no matter what kind of problems I was having that day. I'd bring a book with me, I'd sit and I'd read, and I would just feel better. And I knew that there was something about that connection that was special. In the home I lived in, we had spirits. My grandmother's home had spirits. It was a very common thing. It was never hushed about, like, oh, don't talk about that. It's your imagination. You were never made to feel foolish about knowing about spirits. My family was very open about them. And as I continued on my magical path, I think I really embraced the concept of being a witch by the time I was about 16, 17, 18. And then the first book, because there were no books. Those of you, especially young people, that have literally millions of books out there about magic and the world of witchcraft and the fantasies and all the movies, and my goodness, there was none of that when I was growing up. None. You knew innately inside of you that you were different than everyone else around you. There were no books to tell you so. There were no books to encourage you. There certainly were no classes. There was none of this, no videos. So I think by the time I was an adult, I came across my very first book, I believe published in 1981. I was almost married by that point. And that was the if it can even be seen over here, The Witch's Bible, written by Janet and Stuart Farah. This is not even my original copy. And then after that, a lot of books started to be published. And I read the first few that came out. But it's funny, even the other day, a lady came into the store and she had this book. She loved her book. It's a new book she just got. Have you seen this book? I have to say no, I'm sorry, I didn't. I haven't seen it. I don't really read modern books about magic or Wicca. I do have some from, really famous authors that I'm very familiar with, like Janet Farah, Gavin Bone, Raven Gramassi's work I have downstairs, Scott Cunningham's, of course, a few others, Christopher Penczak. But no, I don't really read those books. I've been practicing for so long. I'm creating things all the time for myself. But back to who am I? I really had a foundation at the beginning coming from Janet and Stuart's earlier works, but not necessarily Gardnerian, not necessarily Alexandrian. I would just call it traditional British Wicca, which is a really awesome, solid foundational stone to start with. If you want to start with anything. It had a heavy emphasis on Druidism, the way I learned. That was my choice. And then I started to branch out. If I have not given you this story yet, I'll give it to you now. When your path starts to branch out, no matter where you've started on the magical path, imagine it as if it is a map of the town, and then the state, and then the country you live in. And every single dot on that map is another area of the magical world. Just for example, this little dot, this town, this city, this village is candle magic, and then it takes you to perhaps making your own candles, and that one takes you to the history, which could be oil lamps, which takes you to the history, well, in that case would be the Middle East, which takes you in that case to perhaps the incenses, and each one will take you to another area. You might be interested in the ritual, or you might be interested in stone and crystal magic. You might be interested in casting circle. What's important to know is you will never, ever, ever visit every single dot on the map in your lifetime, and you certainly can't visit every one in one day, and that's okay. Just know that your path is not going to be the same as mine, and it's not supposed to be, and your path is not going to be the same as anybody else's. Just enjoy the path, and to be hung up on what one person's credentials are as opposed to another's. Let me give you a really good example on how you can cut through all the nonsense on the internet, on videos, even mine. Not everybody is going to sync up with everybody. Not every teacher is going to be right for every student, and that's as it should be. I was studying, especially during COVID, when we were all locked down. A lot of universities put free classes online. A lot of universities that we would normally have to pay, tuition and actually go to these universities, they all opened up their classes online, and it was really exciting for me because I got to take some classes in universities very far away from where I am. And I was taking a course on Jewish history, which I was very involved in because I wanted to find some information that I was looking for. And I wanted to start at the beginning and kind of, find my way. So I found this course being taught, I think it was at the University of Tel Aviv. I was really excited. It was in English, great, because I don't speak Hebrew, and this is awesome. And so I started watching this professor that I didn't know anything about. And I started listening to his course. And it was just supposed to be basically the history of Israel. And I'm listening, And for the first 20 minutes, I'm thinking, well, something's going on here. You know, he seemed really angry. Like, what's going on? This is history that's like, we're going back like almost 5,000 years, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 years. Why is he so mad? I mean, he was really upset. So I stopped the video and I started to do some Googling. And what I Googled was, what does Professor so-and-so's peers think of him? I wanted to see some reviews. I wanted to see some accolades. I wanted to say, wow, we really think this guy's great. We love his books, this, that, and the other. I found exactly the opposite, that this guy was kind of like a real outsider. He really was not the person I needed to teach me the basic history of what I wanted to use as a foundation stone to leap off and go into other areas of that particular part of study I wanted to learn. Now, is he a bad teacher? No. It's just he was a little bit too outside of what I needed for the foundation I was looking for. So when you're listening to somebody online, if it resonates with you, great. If it makes sense, great. If you're looking to rip somebody apart because you disagree with what they have to say, well, I would maybe move on. Because one, we don't have time for that. We're here for the students that are interested in learning. There's 1 billion videos on YouTube, over 1 billion. I think it's quite higher than that now. That was like 10 years ago. So find somebody that resonates with you. If you want to leave a comment that's positive and supportive and encouraging, and that's awesome. We love that. If it's a comment to say, you know, I hate you and this, that, and the other, and you're wrong, and this, that, and the, you know, it doesn't benefit anybody, and probably not going to even respond. So look for something that works for you, and worrying less about where somebody comes from. It's what their energy. Do you respond with their energy? I think that's the best. So who am I? I'm Shadow Witch. I've been doing this for well over 40 years. And if you follow my videos and the magic manifests for you, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, all right, well, we'll work on that. Thanks for visiting my circle, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.